Live Unrehearsed on CJAD 800. Brought to you by Marco Vendramini of IG Private Wealth Management. MarcoVendramini.com.
Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Matt Del Vecchio, specializing in life transitions, downsizing in the senior living industry.
And I'm Corey Serrato, clinical social worker and psychotherapist, specializing in grief and loss. Matt, I saw you sporting, speaking of masks and that song that from the mask, I saw you sporting a very nice mask today with your Lianis mask. So nice.
Yeah, you know, things are transforming in masks and they're developing. So, yes, I decided to go with the black mask, and I was fortunate to put on our Lianis logo on it as well. But you know what I'm looking forward to? I'm getting another mask this week. It's a mask that is part material, but around the mouth area, it is clear, and it's originally for those of hard of hearing, and you would think deaf people. However, in my world, as you know, I deal with a lot of seniors, and I was actually on a tour this past week, and the client was very hard of hearing, did not have the hearing aids in. So what we ended up doing, which was totally not correct, we had to go 2 meters and pull the mask off because she was reading lips. And so I can't wait to get this new mask that's clear, that could be great for anyone that's hard of hearing, and it just doesn't necessarily have to be young people. It could be for seniors as well. So I'll keep you up to date next week on how that's working out.
And did you like mine?
Your mask is amazing. You can't see it, and too bad we can't do Facebook Live, but tell us a little bit about that.
So I am sporting a Myra's Kids Foundation mask, which is newly in production because for our programs that we're doing to help bereaved children. So we made masks because we're going to be gathering socially distanced appropriate, and we want to make sure that everybody stays safe.
Very cool mask, nice and colorful, and good on you guys for doing that. All right. Now, Dr. Peter Tsai, he's a Taiwanese American who has his PhD in material sciences. He's an expert in the field of what's called non-woven filter. In 1995, he patented the fabric used to make N95 masks, which are one of the most effective face coverings to prevent the spread of COVID-19. His above technologies have been used among the industries worldwide, producing tens of billions of N95 or equivalent respirators. And we're joined by Dr. Tsai from Knoxville, Tennessee, where much of his research was done at the University of Tennessee. Dr. Tsai, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. Boy, I know you are a person in demand. The mask is designed to block 95% of very small particles, unlike other forms of personal protective equipment, or PPE as we know it, including homemade masks and cloth covers. N95 masks actually filter out contaminants, making them one of the most protective masks on the market today. So, Dr. Tsai, I guess the question that I have is, how does it filter out those contaminants?
Yes, the filtering piece of N95 is composed of electrostatically charged microfiber fabric. And the microfibers have a high surface area that contribute to high filtration efficiency. In addition to the mechanical attraction, the charges of electrostatically charged media attract the particles by electrostatic attraction. So in this case, the charged media has 10 times of the filtration efficiency of uncharged media. So the overall efficiency is 11 times of the uncharged fabric. This is why the N95 respirator has high filtration efficiency.
So it's amazing. We're talking with Dr. Peter Tsai, the inventor of the N95 mask filter. And just to repeat, it's the electric charge, and I would have not thought of that. It's the filter, and that fact that it is charged will attract those contaminants and makes it a lot more efficient than your traditional chargers. Now, Corey, you had an interesting question when we were talking off air.
I noticed that that I got an advertisement for a KN95. Is there a difference? And if so, what is it?
KN95 is a standard of Chinese respirator. The specification is similar to N95, but N95 is audited by NIOSH in the U.S.
I see.
If KN95 is also strictly audited, then it should have the same efficiency as N95.
Okay, so what's the difference between a respirator and a mask?
A mask is just a general term. It includes a respirator. But strictly speaking, a mask, like a three-fold mask or a cloth mask, it means that it does not have a good a tight fit at its edge. And a respirator, like N95 respirator, it has a tight fit at its edge. So the air does not come in from the edge.
It makes sense. We're talking with Dr. Peter Tsai, who's joined us from Tennessee. He's the inventor of the N95 mask filter, and that makes a lot of sense. The respirators are much tighter around the skin, and that's why we're seeing the N95 mask being used almost exclusively in a healthcare environment, whereas a standard mask would not have that adhesion to the skin. And you feel for the healthcare workers who have to wear these for many hours upon hours. Now, Dr. Tsai, you retired a couple of years ago, and you've come out of retirement due to the pandemic, and you're probably working harder than ever in post-retirement, but for a very good cause, helping out a lot of companies. I know you're doing 12, 15, sometimes 20-hour work days, and most of those hours are on a volunteer basis. Why are you doing this?
Yes, during the pandemic, I think I'm responsible for providing information I have from my 35 years of experience in making electrostatic charged media to provide this information for virologists to do the experiment, trying to find a way to sterilize the respirator. So if I don't do this, I think I will regret it for in the rest of my life. If something I could do to help people to save lives, but I did not do. So this is why I come out to help.
Well, God bless you for doing it. Now I'm going to ask you to help us out here, because Matt and I are on the Wear a Mask team, and we need people to understand, why is it so important to wear a mask?
Or a mask, even the three-fold mask or a cloth mask that does not have a tight fit at the edge, but its role is basically to contain the virus from an infected person to expose to the outside. So scientific data shows that if an infected person wear a mask, then basically about 95% of the germs are contained inside the mask. So if everyone wears the mask, then basically about 98% are protected. But the mask is not the only measure to protect, to have a fully protection. Mm-hmm. So other measures need to be taken, such as testing, screening, isolation, quarantine, hand washing, and the social distance are required to have full protection.
It's, I think Premier Legault here in Quebec, Dr. Tsai, would be very happy to hear what you're saying. This is what the medical community has been stressing to the population, and there are mask deniers out there. Hearing it right from Dr. Tsai, the importance of the mask is to contain contaminants. You are protecting others. Wear your masks out of respect for others, but of course, let's not forget about those other health and safety protocols like washing those hands, social distancing, and respecting each other is what it comes down down to. Now, Dr. Tsai, we have to head out to a quick traffic update, but we want to hear your interesting opinion about the use of certain filters like coffee filters and paper towels, whether that is all worth it. But first, let's hear from Mark Shaloub at the CJD Traffic Center.
Live unrehearsed on CJAD 800. Brought to you by Marco Vendramini of IG Private Wealth Management. MarcoVendramini.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. That's Gloria Estefan with her version of Put On Your Mask, because we are talking with Dr. Peter Tsai, the inventor of the N95 filter for masks. This is a huge, the work that you're doing in helping essentially save the world. We asked before the break why you shouldn't use homemade filters such as coffee filters and paper towels. Do they work? Do they not work?
Okay. Coffee filters and paper towels are made of pulp, not fibrous materials. So they are they don't have a good filtration efficiency, and they are very compact. So their air resistance is very high. That means the breathability is low. And thirdly, they are hydrophilic. That means that a droplet will spread out and penetrate through the filter. And the droplet will finally contaminate the nose and the mouth, so the wearer will get infected. So the coffee filter and paper towel are not good materials for homemade mask.
Okay, noted.
So, that's coming from the inventor.
That's right.
And I think that's so important, Dr. Tsai, because there are a lot of do-it-yourself masks out there and a lot of, we'll call it fake news. So stay away from those coffee filters or paper towel. They're pulp-based, and in fact, it is absolutely a false sense of security. And thank you for confirming that. Now, that being said, because of all the do-it-yourself masks being out there, all for good reason, people are trying to be proactive. However, what would you say for those do-it-yourselfers, the optimal material for a homemade mask?
Yes, the handy material at home is cloth. So if you use two thin cloth and you insert high efficiency home filter between, then that should be a good a mask. Because the mask, the high efficiency filter itself is also an air filter, and that can be a good material for the mask.
So you're saying high efficiency home filters between two pieces of cloth. There you go, guys. You can do this. We can do this. We can make it. You heard it from...
Yes, and the cloth is washable. And every time when you change the mask, you just throw away that middle layer of the home filter.
So throw away the filter, but the mask, the cloth. The advantage of cloth, of course, is it could be reused. And talking about reused, Corey, you were talking about the N95 mask. One of the issues there is they're disposables, and you had a question about Corey about reusing those, didn't you?
Are we able to reuse the N95 mask?
N95 is originally designed to be disposable for one-time use, but during the time of the shortage, if there is a way to sterilize it, and the sterilization will not degrade the charges and will not change the shape of the respirator, and it can still have a good tight fit at the edge, then it should be able to be reusable. And there are several ways of sterilization approved by NIH. For example, hydrogen peroxide, dry heat at 70 degrees for 60 minutes, UVC, and ethanol. But ethanol can sterilize the virus, but it will degrade the charges. So ethanol to sterilize the respirators is to dispose the respirator, not to reuse it. So that is important for people to know, to not use ethanol to sterilize N95 and to reuse it.
So if I understand you correctly, you're not necessarily, unless there's a significant sterilization process, it's not a good idea to reuse an N95 mask.
Yeah, you need to have a good sterilization process in order to reuse it. And natural way is a good way, from the report that the survival time on the surface of different materials of COVID-19 is different. For example, 3 or 4 hours on the surface of a copper and 3 days on the surface of a plastic material. So after each use, if you put the respirator there for 3 to 4 days, then on the 5th day, you can reuse it because the virus already died.
That's Dr. Peter Tsai, the inventor of the N95 mask filter, providing some very interesting information. I know, Dr. Tsai, since you've come out of retirement, you've spent a lot of time looking about the reuse of N95 simply because there is a world shortage. We try to keep those masks for the healthcare sector and not so much in the public. And there has been a lot of questions for Dr. Tsai, can you reuse them? So nice to hear that you're making progress with the reuse of N95. If there is a second wave and these masks are going to be more, there's already been billions used. It's going to be nice to know that you're making progress in the reuse of them. We're quickly running out of time, Dr. Tsai. However, could you give us any final words and any message that you would want to get out there to our listeners for those that are against wearing masks?
You may think it is not comfortable to wear it in the very beginning, but if you get used to it, then it will not be uncomfortable to wear a mask. And there is no data shows that the oxygen level inside the mask is low, so it will hurt the wearer's health. So it's important to wear a mask, and to wear a mask will not influence the health of the wearer.
So interesting with Dr. Peter Tsai, and you're so right. I think the world is getting used to wearing masks, and we are becoming accustomed. No, it's not overly comfortable, particularly those that have to wear it for hours and hours and hours. But you're showing that from a health perspective on those wearing masks, we are okay. And, really, we want to thank you, Dr. Peter Tsai, for what you've done in all your research. I can't imagine the millions of lives. It's not too often we can say that, Corey, the millions of lives you've saved with your wonderful research and coming out of retirement and helping so many different companies in their processes of making masks. And thank you for joining us on Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you so much as well.
Thank you.
Right.
Really appreciate it. So next week, coming up, financial expert Marco Vendramini will be talking about estate planning for blended families.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. A lot of blended families out there. And, it's been about 10 years since Nikki Yanofsky sang the theme song at the 2010 Winter Olympics. Well, she's back in the spotlight with a newly released album. And she's still only 26 years old, Corey. Well, we're going to have Nikki Yanofsky next Sunday. And we want to thank everyone. Thank you to our technical producer, Dave Simon, for producing the show. And thank you for listening to Life Unrehearsed, where you can catch us every Sunday on CJAD at 4 p.m.